dial keys and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He is the debut author of the book, The Business of Relationships, no other than Mr. Tom Hagerty.
Hi, Daniel.
Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Tom. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Well, I am a retired business executive. I spent 45 years in a variety of American companies, leading them into product introductions, sometimes turnarounds, marketing plans, strategic planning, and so forth. All the things that an executive does. I managed finance, I managed marketing, and I also had my own consulting firm. For about 20 years, we were known as a business fixer, which is basically a turnaround guy, if you will, that helps businesses that get in trouble. And after my retirement in March of 2024, I decided to relax a little bit and kick back and give back. And I had the Business of Relationships already out. It was available, is available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, and doing pretty well. And you know, giving back to people that gave a lot to me over the years. So I'm also a father and grandfather of 4 grandchildren who are great and give me a lot of joy. And looking forward to the next chapter in life.
Indeed, congratulations, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge to the world. How did you choose which executives to study or draw wisdom from?
Well, I am a longtime quote collector, Daniel. I've collected quotes that are meaningful to me from not only business executives, but politicians, religious leaders, musicians, sports figures. And when it came time to write The Business of Relationships, I was looking at the 12 essential qualities that need to be in any good personal relationship. And so the quotes came to life if I thought that they could be relevant in one of those 12 categories. So that's basically it. I wanted people that were somewhat recognizable to most of us, but I also chose people that are high achievers that are not immediately recognizable to most of us who don't follow the business press. So it was kind of a mixed bag of things that I felt would apply well and resonate well with my audience.
Indeed, interesting, Mr. Tom. And what is the core message or goal you hope readers take away from this book?
The core message to me is number one, relationships take work. You know, longevity is not a precursor to success. Relationships take a lot of work, a lot of dedication, a lot of self knowledge, self awareness, and they really need constant tending, if you will, just like a garden does. So I think in our society, which stresses immediacy right now and availability of everything on demand, relationships are not going to be that way. So if you want a thriving relationship, you need to be able to reconcile yourself to putting in the work.
Totally agree with you, Mr. Tom. And let's talk about the leadership principles in personal life. Can you share an example of a business principle that works surprisingly well in personal relationships?
I'd be glad to. One of my favorite essays in the book, both in the research as well as the writing, was with Jack Welch, the former chairman of General Electric. I worked for General Electric back in the middle 80s and knew of Jack Welch. He was several levels, obviously, removed from me, but he set the tone at General Electric for a merit based culture. And this was a lumbering industrial giant, slow to do just about everything. And Jack came on the scene as our CEO. And the quote that I chose from him, Daniel, is this: change before you have to. That message was delivered in a speech to his business leaders when he was first CEO. And he said to them, if you are not number one or number two in your marketplace, I will fix you, close you, or sell you. So change before you have to. It was a decided call to action for business leaders of the various GE units to step up to the plate and innovate, accelerate, collaborate, if you will. But when I saw change before you have to, and I had read it years before that, but when I saw it again, I said that can apply to our personal relationships. That can almost be a mantra: change before you have to. Because change before you have to, the financial irresponsibility that is wrecking your family. Change before you have to, the passive aggressive nature with your kids that is alienating them. Change before you have to, the budding addiction that threatens to ruin your career and your family life. Those are the kind of things that I think that quote, if you will, can easily apply to a personal relationship when you say change before you have to.
Beautifully code. Mr. Tom, very well said.
Your studio audience is very appreciative.
Indeed, Mr. Tom. What role does emotional intelligence play in both the boardroom and the living room?
Well, I would say this, Daniel. Emotional intelligence is essential anywhere: boardroom, living room, bathroom, bedroom. It's everywhere. And I would say that people who are self aware, people who are inquisitive, people who are committed to change when change is necessary, people who have a long term perspective, who are humble, who are resilient, all of the qualities of emotional intelligence. I think that's essential in business. I mean, when you look at CEOs, to me, there isn't a lot of mystery to this when you say that CEOs are incentivized and many times employed for the reason that they can cultivate good relationships. They have to. They have to have a great relationship with their employees. They have to have great relationships with their customers, their vendors, their stakeholders, their shareholders. So these are people that are paid almost, you could say that, to foster great relationships. And I think their wisdom, as I say in my book, transcends the boardroom, transcends the shareholder letter. And I think emotional intelligence is almost a prerequisite for a CEO to be successful.
Mr. Tom, let's talk about the practical applications of the book. Are there any daily habits or routines from successful executives that you think people should adopt in their personal lives?
Yes, I do. I think that the successful CEO, and these are part of the 12 qualities that I emphasize that are essential to personal relationships. But I think when you look at a CEO, they are embody a great deal of perspective. They take the long-term view. They look at things in a way that uh, exacerbates the possibility for a long relationship because they take that perspective. They are not hamstrung, if you will, by things that occur on a daily basis. They look more in terms of what does next year look like? What do the next 5 years look like? So I think having a perspective like that in a personal relationship is essential. I think the successful CEO tends to exhibit humility. They are very well aware that they will get nowhere if they are always putting themselves in a position of being the smartest guy in the room, as the failed Enron people tried to do. You know, they were always the smartest guys in the room. That is not a characteristic of most successful CEOs. And in fact, you can look at Steve Jobs, you can look at Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, Sheryl Sandberg, Carly Fiorina, many others who say that their team was the essential component to their success. So I think that that sense of humility is there. I think CEOs exhibit a great deal of trust. They exhibit a great deal of respect, you know, for others. They are very committed, you know, and that's essential in a personal relationship as well. They establish priorities very well. They are resilient. You know, the CEOs who stay around, and Jack Welch was certainly an example of that, but so was Henry Ford, and so was Thomas Edison and Steve Jobs. They all had an essential quality of resilience in their tenure as CEO. And we have to do that as well in our relationships. We have to be able to bounce back from disappointment, to bounce back from, you know, an unforeseen circumstance, to bounce back from a surprising diagnosis. We have to be able to support our partners in those personal relationships by being resilient. And there's other qualities, you know, there's risk and there's change and there's priority and commitment I mentioned earlier. Um, those are the kind of things that CEOs do on a daily basis. And that's why I thought they were so relevant to our personal relationships, because we just pay attention to too many people that don't have gravitas today. And I think if we're going to be serious about our personal relationships, a CEO is someone we could pay more attention to.
So let's discuss also the challenges and growth of the book. Were there any leadership ideas that it did not translate well into personal life?
Um, you know, I don't think I went there, Daniel, to look for leadership principles that didn't transfer, because this is a positive book about relationships. It's, yeah, I'm trying to uncover for people those essential qualities that they need. But I would say there were certainly people that I could have selected that I didn't. You know, one example comes to mind is Hugh Hefner. I mean, you know, he is a polarizing character, especially now with the increasing awareness, um, you know, just in terms of our diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think Hugh Hefner was a good businessman. You know, he started Playboy magazine with an $8,000 loan from some friends. He sold some furniture, et cetera, et cetera. He was a true rags to riches story when it came to Playboy. But over the years, because of what it stood for, um, he isn't relevant to today's audience. But he had a quote nonetheless that I absolutely loved. And he said, "Life is too short to live someone else's dream." There may be other people who've said similar type of things, but I even wrote an essay about it, and it was getting toward the final edits and so forth. And I said, I just don't want to put Hugh in the book. you know, I'm sorry you had a great business and an interesting lifestyle, but I don't think it's relevant for the audiences of today. So he got left on the cutting room floor.
So, Mr. Tom, what will be your short term and long term goals in writing?
Well, the short term goals are obviously to sell books and to get the message out through my speaking engagements, any seminars, and so forth. So that would be very short term. I think very long term would be that we, as a society, begin to look at people like these CEOs for their wisdom. You know, when you read something interesting in a shareholder letter, when you hear an interesting interview on CNBC, when you encounter something in a boardroom presentation, if you will. Look around and see what you can draw from these people and how it can apply in a more broad sense to your life, because we're doing that every day anyway. I mean, too many of us are taking advice from friends on Facebook that we barely know. We're taking advice from people that we hear on some talk show late at night that we barely know. I would say that what I would like people to take away from the book is that these people in business, and today, currently, you have Mark Zuckerberg, you have Elon Musk, Jack Dorsey, and others. Um, they are saying and doing things that are worth noting and worth applying in a broader context to your life. That's what my long-term hope would be, that we pay more attention to the people with gravitas.
What advice would you give to someone who struggles to build strong personal connections?
I would say have faith in yourself, number one. We were all put here for a good reason. We are unique people. We have strengths and weaknesses that are complementary to some and not complementary with others. But have confidence in yourself, number one. Never lose that confidence that you are a capable, interesting, passionate, worthwhile human being. And I would say, number one, that would be something I would give to them. Number two is, don't be afraid to work on the areas where you think you're missing something. And put in the hours, put in the days and the weeks and the months and the years to get better at something. A relationship is like running a marathon. You don't wake up one morning and say, today I'm going to run 26.2 miles. Um, and you don't do that with relationships either. So be capable of setting some realistic goals and putting in the work. Would be the other thing I would say to people is, so I would say, yes, have faith in yourself and be willing to put in the work. And if you do those two things, uh, I think your personal relationships will thrive.
Thank you for your advice, Mr. Tom, and good luck to your goals. What kind of research went into writing this book, The Business of Relationships?
Well, like I said, over many years, I was a quote collector from a variety of different people that I thought would have an application to me. The research involved was, number one, validating the quote to say, yes, I know where this came from, when it was said, how it was said, what it meant in the context of its original version, if you will. And then it was really a fun project for me to look at the lives of these 52 executives that I profiled in the book, the 52 different essays, because so many of these people, Daniel, came from nothing. And it was a set of circumstances that they made the most of that got them to the top of the corporate ladder, or the top of the company they founded, if you will. The other research, which was much more intensive, was I wanted to give people a grounding for what the major religions say about relationships. What do the major philosophical schools say about relationships? What do current people of wisdom say about relationships? So that was a lot of research to do that, and the 12 qualities themselves were the outcome of research into a variety of different areas. I mean, I looked at medical journals, I looked at business journals, I looked at relationship websites, marriage.com, I looked at the news outlets. What are these people saying about relationships fundamentally, and what qualities do they think are there? And the 12 that I chose were very common to a variety of different media outlets, books, research, etc. So I felt very comfortable with spotlighting those, and and really giving people a window into how business can, business quotes specifically, can impact the personal relationship in a positive way.
Mr. Tom, what was the most surprising discovery you made while writing The Business of Relationships?
That's a good question. I think the most surprising discovery was oftentimes the story of the executive themselves, because when you look at certain people and you say, um, I think I know all I need to know about Thomas Edison. I think I know all I need to know about Steve Jobs, or I think I know all I need to know about Henry Ford or Sheryl Sandberg or whoever. Oftentimes, you discover in the research that they overcame some extremely daunting circumstances. When you think of Thomas Edison, who was basically deaf, and living in a benefactor's basement, while he tried to invent things. That's a daunting circumstance. When you look at Sheryl Sandberg and you say she had a great career in government, then went to Facebook, then went to Google, and then went to Facebook, but in the process lost her husband to a sudden death while they were on vacation. And when she was quoted as saying, each one of us is more than the worst thing we've ever done, that spoke to me about resilience. But it was at a time when she was on the griddle, so to speak, being castigated for uh, the scandal that was around Cambridge Analytica in the 2016 presidential election in the United States, and that was an extreme low point for her in her career. So, when you discover the daunting set of circumstances, when Anita Roddick, for instance, said she founded the Body Shop and was Great Britain's greatest entrepreneur, in the words of her prime minister. But when she said, if you think you're too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito. It's kind of a funny quote that a lot of people smile at, but it spoke to me about the essence of change. And here's a lady who lost two fathers, a father and a stepfather, within years of each other. She was born in a bomb shelter in World War II during the Blitzkrieg of London. She had a great relationship with her husband, but he was away a lot in the United States with his career while she stayed back with their daughters in England. Um, and through all of that turmoil, she manages to found a company that was later sold to L'Oreal for a couple of $1 billion, and was noted as Britain's greatest entrepreneur. So I think for me that was, to your question, the most interesting thing or compelling thing to me was finding out the circumstances from which these various leaders came and how much they had to overcome to get where they were.
Again, very well said, Mr. Tom. Very well said. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to one of my audiobooks, people. Audiobooks, Book 101 Review, Volume 3, Suggestions, Book 101 Review, Volume 2, Selected, and Book 101 Review, Volume 1, Highly Recommended. These are the product of my first season on Book 101 Review. And of course, one of my self-help books, Rise of Existence, Waving the Tapestry of Life. Stand tall, stand together, breaking the chains of bullying, and life is too short. A journey of discovery, fulfillment, and joy. And one of my climate change book, Earth Fever, Unraveling Climate and Our Race to Restore Balance, available on Audible and one of the bestsellers. So, Mr. Tom, do you think this book can also help improve workplace culture, not just home life?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the type of relationships, Daniel, that I stress in the book are they cut across all types. You can use these quotes and my essays and work plans to improve certainly a workplace relationship, but it is parent-child relationships, sibling to sibling, neighbor to neighbor, golf partner to golf partner, spousal relationships. They're all a part of the fabric of the interpersonal relationships that we have in our lives. And if you think that you are somewhat lacking in being trustworthy, if you think that you are not as committed as you should be, or not as resilient, or maybe don't accord as much respect as you should to other people, you can work on these in a quality by quality basis. You don't have to read the book from start to finish. You can skip around. And I do have certain action steps after each essay for people that they can build, some of that quality that they believe is somewhat deficient.
Mr. Tom Hagerty, thank you so much for sharing your debut book to the world and, of course, your knowledge to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support the business of relationships?
Absolutely. The Business of Relationships is available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And there is also information on my website, thetomhagerty.com. And that will give them an option to get in touch with me if they would like a keynote address or any kind of personal involvement from me in their company or in their personal lives.
Yes, people, I support Mr. Tom Hagerty because if you support him, I've said more and more and more empowering business books to come. So, Mr. Tom, thank you so much for your time.
Daniel, thank you. It's been great. You have a great day.
More to come, people. See you soon.